Hi there, I am Laina Orlando, and I come to you on this beautiful sunny day. Look at all the light that is, surrounding me here in my office to bring to you the first, and what I have a feeling is going to be a long series of videos. And the title of this series is I Am the Light of the World. Before I begin to share with you the message that I have been asked to share with you today, I want to tell you just a little bit about why this is coming about. I have been blessed. My life was transformed when back in 2002, I began a spiritual awakening. I entered into a journey of self-awareness, of self-actualization, self-realization, whatever you want to call it. I entered a dark night of the soul, and I began the process of beginning to become aware that inside of me are two voices. Now, it's the same for everybody. These two voices come from very distinct aspects of ourselves. As a matter of fact, they're opposites to one another. One comes from the voice for God, which is the voice that speaks the truth. It's our childlike sense of wonder. It is the creative, loving, kind, supportive, uplifting side of ourselves. And it is the part of us that is felt when we are in a state of intuition, in a state of being lost in the moment, totally, completely immersed in what is happening. Because the voice of the Holy Spirit, of God, of our inner knowing, speaks to us always in the now moment. Then there's this other voice, the voice of the ego mind. This is the mind that is always very selfish. It is focused on the self alone. It is about protecting me, no matter what it takes. It is greedy, it is selfish, it is destructive, and it is the voice that blocks us from hearing the other voice. So the only way to be able to choose between these two voices is to become aware of the two voices, what they say, what they're attempting to do, how they operate in the world. We have, these are tricky voices. Our soul's voice is hard to hear because we're so used to hearing our ego's voice. So since 2002 that I entered the journey and I began my process of becoming self-aware, I began to receive guidance from the consciousness that we call Jesus. It was familiar to me. I grew up Catholic, so that made perfect sense. The consciousness of Jesus was helping me distinguish between these two voices. It was giving me processes by which to pay attention to the two voices. It was guiding me to the right books, to the right teachers, to the right workshops. It even gave me a workshop to teach called The Power of Awareness, so that I could teach others what I was learning, so that I could break it down into something really simple. Once you can distinguish between the two voices, all we need to do is to shift from the lower voice of the ego and lift into the higher frequency of the voice of God. You shift from fear, you lift into love. And this is a vibrational frequency. There is a chart, and I teach those things in my classes, but there is a chart by which we walk ourselves up this emotional scale, this map of consciousness, whatever you want to call it. It is a very simple process, but it is not easy. And the reason it is not easy is because we have to call ourselves out. We have to say, I'm lying to myself. I'm believing something that is not true. Because everything the ego tells us is a block to the truth that God wants us to know is true about us. And the world has done an incredible job of solidifying the voice of the ego, solidifying our selfishness, our greediness. So anyways, it's quite the path. However, I've also been given the gift of simplifying what this journey that takes decades, lifetimes for all of us, and decades for sure in this lifetime if you're supposed to wake up. It's been given to me to simplify how to listen to that voice, how to become familiar with the voice that blocks the voice for truth. And one of the tools that was given to me to further solidify my awareness of these two voices so that I could shift and lift a lot quicker is a teaching, a book that was channeled called A Course in Miracles. In this book, A Course in Miracles, Jesus gave us information over 50 years ago that helps us really understand the truth of who we are. This is a pretty fat book. And one of the primary teachings here is that we are the light of the world. The Course in Miracles is attempting to train our minds by helping us distinguish these two voices, the ego and the voice of God, the voice of fear and the voice of love. So this morning, and today is February the 7th, I woke up, or February the 8th, I woke up, 2021 to be exact, I woke up around 4:50 this morning with this feeling, this desire, and I knew where it was coming from. It was a nudge from God to share the good news that every one of us is the light of the world. The truth that the Course in Miracles wants us to get is that every one of us is a child of the creative source. And being the child of the creative source, we have innately with that certain inalienable characteristics that are common to all of us. And they are that when we recognize our birthright, we are powerful, we are magnificent, we are honest, we are gentle, we are defenseless, we are trusting of the truth, we are absolutely transparent, nothing to hide when you know what you are. And also, there's a recognition that we are compassionate, forgiving beings. For us to be able to move through what is happening on the planet right now, that is only going to intensify because I receive guidance, I receive information about what's coming. Not in specific things. I couldn't tell you exactly what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, but I can tell you that humanity, because we have this incredible desire to connect with goodness, everybody wants things to get better. To be able to connect with that goodness that we all desire, we must see what blocks it. So if our goodness is heard from the voice for God, that is what inspires us into being the best that we can be, into co-creating a world that works for all of us. If we can't hear that voice, we have to be very honest about what's blocking it. So the Course in Miracles is a powerful tool that those who choose to use it will do. I mean, you will jump through your spiritual journey by leaps and bounds, because it breaks down the steps that are necessary to become aware of the ego so that you can see the very thing that has caused all of your suffering, which means all of humanity's suffering is created by our egoic way of thinking. Now, the ego, it's not that it's a bad thing, because it's not even a thing. It is a belief system. It's a thought system. And the Course calls it wrong thinking. We have been trained into selfish thinking. That's wrong thinking, because it blocks the thinking that is about uplifting everybody, the thinking of equality. To be in selfish thinking, we have to think of ourselves as separate from one another. Some deserve, some don't. That wrong thinking that we are different and separate from each other in a way that some should win and some should lose is the primary source of all of our suffering, because it creates haves and have-nots in every area of life. The right mind, the right thinking brings us back into equality. Well, to get back into equality, we have to realize that we're all the same, inherently the same, even though we have different functions here on the planet, different likes, different things that we want to do and express ourselves. But when they're expressed from a place of knowing that all of us are the light of the world, all of us have something to contribute, it's not a win-lose proposition. It's all of us get to win, all of us support one another, and it creates what the Course calls a happy dream, where we all work together to ensure that everybody succeeds, not in placating people, but in actually creating the stage, setting the stage for everybody to have an opportunity to express themselves. Because in this world, there is no competition, there's only collaboration. The world of the ego is very competitive because it believes in lack. There's not enough to go around. The world of God creates abundance through the desire to experience it. But we've been trained into believing that there's only so much. So we've been conditioned into competition, and everybody's fighting for, the one little piece of the pie. However, and this is another piece that is really challenging that the Course wants us to understand, we've been conditioned into competition by those who take advantage of our competing against each other while they siphon off more for themselves. Because they too are in competition. The 1% and the 99% there's competition going on at every level. We've got ours going on here. They've got theirs with us going on. All of that is made up because we're listening to the voice of the ego. If we stop listening to the voice of the ego, once we understand it, we all shift to listening to the voice of God, where we will create heaven on earth, what the Course calls a happy dream. So let me share with you what I was given to read from A Course in Miracles. That is the basis, the basis of daily messages that I am being asked to share. And the messages are going to revolve around, I am the light of the world. My function right now is to plant the seeds in as many minds as possible that cause us to remember that there's something good and powerful and abundant and creative inside each and every one of us. We cannot undo the ego until our soul is ready to take flight. Before we can let go of our competition, we've got to get clear that collaboration is okay. We've got to get comfortable with the idea that there's more than enough. So the mind has to be trained and prepared into accepting the truth that has been true always before we let go of the illusion that blocks us from actually having everything that we not only deserve to have, but it's our birthright. And that's what's so miraculous about the Course in Miracles is it has helped me really fully own not only that I'm entitled to miracles, but so are you. And that has transformed my way of relating with others. This is why I treat everybody as my brother and sister, my holy brother and sister, because you know what we are. When you listen to the voice for God, you realize that all of us are one son, daughter of God, one energy, one consciousness expressing itself in lots of different ways. And when you realize that, of course you love your brothers and sisters. The ego only has us compete because we don't remember that we're brothers and sisters. We really think that we are adversaries and you're going to take something from me. So I want to read to you lesson 61 from A Course in Miracles. Not the whole lesson, a good amount of it, but not all of it. The Course in Miracles gives us 365 lessons to put into mastery. I've read them all and I give explanations of all of them. So if you're interested, let me know. Go to my website, lainaorlando.com, sign up for my newsletter, and you'll be able to receive more information about that. But lesson 61 is the one that I am super excited. God wants me to share with you on an ongoing basis, not to read the same lesson, but to remind you on a daily basis that you are the light of the world, with all kinds of different examples, not only from the Course, but from what's happening in the world itself, so that you can become comfortable with this idea. So lesson 61, I am the light of the world. Who is the light of the world except God's son, God's daughter, God's child? This then is merely a statement of the truth about yourself. It is the opposite of a statement of pride, of arrogance, or of self-deception. It does not describe the self-concept that you have made. It does not refer to any of the characteristics with which you have endowed your idols. These are the people that we worship. These are the the celebrities, the authorities that we have made, put on a pedestal. It refers to you. You are the light of the world as you were created by God. It simply states the truth. I am the light of the world, and so are you. And it took me a long time, I'm talking years, to get comfortable with my worth, to be able to claim that I am the light of the world, to accept that God created me to shine, to express my light, to shine it brightly, and never to put it under a bushel for anybody. Paragraph 2. To the ego, today's idea is the epitome of self-glorification. But the ego does not understand humility, mistaking it for self-debasement. Humility consists of accepting your role in salvation and in taking no other. I'll explain salvation in a minute. It is not humility to insist that you cannot be the light of the world, if that is the function God assigned to you. It is only arrogance that would assert this function cannot be for you, and arrogance is always of the ego. You see, I had been taught that I shouldn't go around saying that I am powerful and wonderful and amazing, unless, of course, I had achieved something, and then I could say that I was the top person in my field, the richest person, the most glorified person, the most certified person, or whatever that was. So it's like you had to earn that you were magnificent. But the Course wants us to know, Jesus wants us to know, that we are magnificent just because we exist. We are the light of the world because we're made of light. And the ego mind is what has been trained into believing that no, we're not, or that we have to do something to allow ourselves to say those things. And when we create a status for ourselves, make ourselves special, because of the way that the ego is trained, it is always better than somebody else, which means that then somebody has to be lesser than another. So when it says in here that humility consists of accepting our role in salvation and in taking no other, what salvation means is we've got to save ourselves from the insanity of believing things that are not true. We have to save ourselves and save others, spare others. That's another word for that. Spare others from this insanity of competition, of we decide who's better and lesser than somebody else when God made us all equal. So we have to save ourselves from this madness. Then it goes on to say in paragraph 3, so true humility requires that you accept today's idea because it is God's voice which tells you it is true. When I began to connect with God and to hear what God had to say to me, I was in tears for years, hearing such beautiful things about myself, reminding me that I am a beloved child of God's. And I had to remember that that is exactly what I said to my children when they were born. Because all of us, when we are little, that's why we have to become like little children to enter the kingdom. When we are little, we live from that kingdom. We live from that knowingness that we are the light of the world. I mean, we even teach little children, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. So it is natural for us as children to feel so incredibly brilliant, but we are trained out of that brilliance through the schooling years, through competition. And part of what I love teaching people is to see how we got indoctrinated out of the truth of who we are by developing a system of thinking that is not consistent with the truth of who we are. But it requires an incredible amount of humility to come inside and to accept our goodness, which to experience that level of humility, we've got to do a lot of healing, a lot of woundedness where we don't feel good enough, where we feel, shame and guilt and carry all kinds of things that are lower consciousnesses that we have to look at. And life right now is giving us an opportunity to do that. So back to this third paragraph. So true humility, this is a beginning step in accepting your real function on earth. It is a giant stride toward taking your rightful place in salvation. It is a positive assertion of your right to be saved and an acknowledgement of the power that is given you to save others. You deserve to be saved, to be spared of your own mental insanity. You deserve to be uplifted and to be told the truth of who you are. Can you imagine how different every one of us would be if we consistently were told how capable we are? Now, not in the new age mom kind of a way where, oh, everybody deserves a trophy. This is not that. This is a reminder that you can do it. A reminder that inside of you is the essence of brilliance that just wants to be given an opportunity to shine. We have not been conditioned to uphold the truth of who we are. We are conditioned into forgetting that. We are conditioned into competition, into becoming small, fitting into a box, following the rules, color inside the lines. We are conditioned out of our brilliance. So how do you save yourself? By being willing to question these two voices, become self-aware, get to know the distinction between these two voices, because you will recognize when you can understand the differences between the two, that one, listening to the one, feels a lot better. You feel joy, you feel peace, you feel natural when you are activating the frequency of the high vibrating thoughts of truth. But that can only be experienced when you're listening to the voice for God, because the voice for ego is the total opposite to that, because it blocks it. So then it goes on to say that you will want to think about this idea that I am the light of the world as often as possible. It is the perfect answer to all illusions and therefore to all temptation to think less of yourself and others. It brings all the images that you have made about yourself to the truth and helps you depart in peace, unburdened and certain of your purpose. See, we don't remember our purpose when we're made to believe that what our life is meant to be is to work, make money and pay bills and buy stuff and acquire and accumulate and save and protect and shop. We have been conditioned to believe that we've got to do something to be somebody, when the truth is that we cannot be any more than what we are. But because we're busy looking for love, looking for glory in all the wrong places, glorifying things outside of ourselves, we have not cultivated a relationship with ourselves. If anything, we are so disconnected from ourselves, and it happens by the time we're in middle school, solidified by the time we're in middle school, that we begin to need to numb ourselves. That's why middle school, oftentimes even now in elementary school, we've got to numb the disconnect between ourselves, between you and you, between me and me internally, because we stop hearing the voice that makes us feel good, because we're listening to the critical voice of self and others, our parents, our teachers, the media. And in listening to that critical voice, the pain of being criticized all the time makes us want to numb ourselves. So addictions are rampant in this world, and there are plenty of people who want to supply you with your whatever substance of choice to make you numb yourself, because there is a loop that we are being kept in with messages that come to us and make us feel bad, and then the pills, legal and illegal, the ways to numb ourselves from that pain that are being given to us that generate profits for others, and it keeps us in a cycle that is very hard to get out of. To be able to get out of that cycle of codependency on external things to make you feel good, basically it's addiction, that's all that it is. Addiction to a numbing agent is to sit down and listen, learn to listen to what the voice of the ego tells you, and distinguish it from what the voice of God is saying. You are the light of the world. But to feel the truth of that, you've got to be willing to sit and listen to all the ways that you block that. No, I'm not good enough. I'm not special enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not capable enough. I'll never amount to much. I can't do that. I'm not enoughness is a sickness, is a virus that has debilitated humanity for millennia. And we need to sit with that voice and say to that voice, that's not my truth anymore. Why? Because I heard that I am the light of the world. So I want you to hear that you're the light of the world. I want that seed planted in your mind. So when the voice of that you're not enough begins to chatter, you say no to that voice. You have the courage to say, no, I've got another voice. And once you know the two voices and you can feel how the voice of I'm not enough makes you feel tight and tense. The voice of I am the light of the world makes you feel expanded and happy and at ease and at peace. You will eventually get so comfortable with liking, feeling good naturally that you'll give up the substances, the numbing agents. You'll give up having to have something to quiet your mind because you'll quiet that mind on your own. You'll save yourself from that suffering because you'll choose to hear only the voice for God. Let me read to you the last piece here. Not the whole thing again, just a couple more pieces. So the practice that we're going to cultivate is being able to say, I am the light of the world. That is my only function. That is why I'm here. That's why God created every single one of us as expressions of love and light on the planet, as bringers of salvation, because we bring truth. We shine the light on the truth of who we are. But to be able to see that in others, we've got to see it in ourselves first. So let me read the last paragraph in this lesson. So today's idea, I am the light of the world, goes far beyond the ego's petty views of what you are and what your purpose is. As a bringer of salvation, this is obviously necessary. You can't bring salvation to the planet. You can't bring goodness to the planet if you're believing that you're not that. If you're believing that somehow you've got a different purpose. This is the first of a number of giant steps that we will take in the next few weeks. That's because the course is giving you lots of lessons. Every day there's a different lesson. So today, just begin to build a firm foundation for the advances that you're about to make. You are the light of the world. God has built his plan for the salvation of his son on you. Pretty big job that we have. When we accept that we're the light of the world, we are the change that then we want to see in the world. Because when we begin to accept our goodness, our magnificence, our sovereignty, we behave differently. We stop attacking. And right now in the world with this political divide, the only reason we attack each other is because we don't understand that in order for us to really receive the kind of world that we all say we want, what we are voting for people to bring and to make manifest, we all want the same thing. But the only way to do that is we have to unite and step away from these idols that we have created of political figures, of famous figures, whatever it is out there, these idols that we have put on pedestals and said they are wonderful. Come save us. They are wonderful. Come give me something that I don't have. This is a journey of humbling ourselves enough to let go of our shame, to say, I have this ugliness in me. I have this darkness in me. Where did it come from? I learned it from others. I picked it up in school. I picked it up from parents, relatives, the media, the government. I picked up information that is not true about me because, frankly, not everybody wants us to know the truth. Do you know how inconvenient it is to have all these bright lights walking around on the planet? We wouldn't be controllable. We wouldn't be gullible. We wouldn't hate on each other. We wouldn't be willing to take sides against each other. We wouldn't be willing to compete with one another the way that we do. We wouldn't be willing to play the game of win and lose. We wouldn't be willing to participate in a single one of our brothers and sisters being hurt, because we would know that we are here to save our brothers and sisters. But we save them from our judgment. And the only way to save them from our judgment is to align with the joy of God inside of us, to connect with the truth of who we are. So today I am following guidance. I heard the voice of God, and it's loud and clear, and it wants me to tell you, to remind you that you are the light of the world. It wants me to share with you on a regular basis the incredible information that has transformed my life, and to offer as many ways for me to help others as possible. So be on the lookout for programs that I'm going to be creating, complimentary programs to help people remember that we are the light of the world. So if you enjoy this, please share this with others. If you want to know more about my work, go to lainaorlando.com. I have a free e-course on there called The Soul's Journey so that you can understand how you descended into the listening to the voice of the ego and what you need to do to ascend to listen to the voice of God. We are shifting from going into fear and lifting and going into love. So thank you for taking the time to listen to this message. This one was a little longer since it's the first one. The other ones will be a lot shorter. But nonetheless, they will be packed with a reminder that you need to hear and hear often. You are the light of the world. You are magnificent. You are powerful beyond measure. You are holy. You are sovereign. Inside of you is the essence of goodness, of well-being. You have access to healing, to activating abundance in your life, to activating joy in your life. Inside of you is the power that you've always been looking for. But you can't access that if you block it by listening to your ego. So please remember, your magnificence, your brightness, your holiness, your goodness is in your hands, but you have to be willing to make the choice to listen to the two voices and choose the only one that's ever going to make you feel good, because it's the only one that is true. I love you.